Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome to part 2 of getting OBS set up for your first stream. In part 1, I focused on getting your service set up, so whether that be Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, so getting all those settings ready enough in OBS. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go ahead and check that out, get all of that in order. Either way, in this one, we're going to be looking at scenes. We're just going to be adding some video sources. We're going to add some audio sources, just some pretty basic stuff. So let's go ahead and dive in though. So go ahead and get OBS opened up. So inside here in mine, you can see we've already got a few sources in here. But we're just going to go ahead and make a new scene. When you installed it, may have created a default scene. We're just going to create a new one. That way we're all starting from the same spot. So we've got a test scene here. You can see we don't have any sources. We don't have any audio. It's pretty much just completely empty. We've got nothing in here. Now, depending on what hardware you have available, you might have a couple of different options here. Starting with the most basic, let's add a webcam. Most people, I feel like these days, have a webcam. So especially after 2020. So let's go ahead and add a webcam, since that's something that it's likely you have laying around. So to do that, we can just right click inside sources here, or we can click the plus, and we're going to go to video capture device. Now, while most webcams aren't terribly impressive, you might think of ones that we've had on our laptops and such for years, most of them really haven't been that impressive. There are a handful of USB webcams out there that actually generate a half decent image. In fact, there are several on the market currently that support as good as 1080p at 60 FPS even. You're still kind of relegated to the capabilities and the limitations of a USB webcam, but that's neither here nor there. It's what we've got available per se, so let's just run with it for now. All right, so adding in our webcam, inside sources here, we can either, just as it says, we can either click the plus or we can right click anywhere inside of here. Let's just right click in here. We'll go to add. We want to add a video capture device. Now in here, we can name this, we can just name it webcam. These are fine. We can click OK. I'm creating a new one. All right, so here we've got a few different options available to us. Now right here, you can see the capture device I'm using for my Canon EOS R6, which obviously produces a very nice image. That's not the device we're looking for though. And that's probably beyond what you might have available at this moment. We'll cover stuff like this later on, not per se in this video, but in later videos. But we just want to find, so here's our webcam, our HD Pro webcam, our C920. It's a Logitech webcam. We're going to go ahead and try to grab this. All right, so we've got our HD Pro webcam, C920 here. This is my Logitech webcam. This is what I use for most of my game streams and such right now. It's something I've had for a little bit. So if we select that, we've got a few different options in here. You can see we've got my webcam. It's mounted up there on my light, which I've got moved for recording this, so looks a little funny right now. Anyhow, resolution, we've got 1920 by 1080. It supports 30 frames a second, so that's fine. Video format, we can just leave that alone. The color space, color range, we can leave all of that. This is pretty well good as it sits. We could go ahead and click OK. We can also configure the video if we need to, which will bring up the different properties that are available to us, where we can adjust the exposure. For instance, we're obviously quite overexposed here. We can drop the exposure down for our lighting. That creates a much more, yeah, that's better. So maybe just do it to 7 for the heck of it. So that looks nice. Focus is on auto. Zoom, we could probably play with. Tilt, pan. We've got stuff like being able to adjust the brightness, adjust the contrast and whatnot. Most of the rest of this, we're just going to leave the same for now. So that gets our webcam added, but we need some audio. Now in this instance, we've got audio that we can capture through our webcam. So there are two ways that we can add an audio source then. We can either capture an audio input capture, which I already have one set up here, but we'll open this up. You can see we're grabbing the microphone from our Logitech device. So we can do it that way, or alternatively, if we just hide that for a moment, we can come back into the Logitech and we can actually tie an audio device to it. And since it has an audio device itself, what we can do is we can come down here, we can select use custom audio device, and then we can go down to our microphone that's coming from our HD Pro webcam C920. We can select that. Let's go ahead and pull this back down. I don't know why this freaked back out. Go and pull that back down. We can click OK. And as you can see, our Logitech is now showing as, you call it like a unified device. Since our audio and our video is coming through the same thing, we can basically just tie them together, and we now have a single device that's managing both our audio and our video. Alternatively, if we wanted, we could have it separate. Pick and choose kind of how you want to do it. It's not going to make too much of a difference, I don't think. Most of your controls wind up being similar, I believe. I don't really know if there's going to be an advantage to either way. So with this though, our basic setup is essentially complete. I mean, from this right here, I could now, stick this up at a sports event, and I could capture the sports event and sound. I could capture a classroom. I can capture a church event, a fireside, a devotional, what have you. And this effectively works. We're already tied into our service. We've got video, we've got audio, we're ready to go. All we've got to do is hit go live, fill in any other information we need, and we're vibing. But let's say that we are in something like a gaming scenario, or this is a sort of devotional, some sort of fireside, or basically just that there's something else we're wanting to show. Maybe there's a presentation or something going on. Let's show how we might include something like a slideshow, or just kind of spruce things up a little bit more. So coming back in here, if we're wanting to add some stuff to this scene, we've got a few options. So let's go ahead and try including a presentation. And the way we're going to do this is actually a method I used just about a week or two ago. We had a Sunday school class where we were doing something like this. Where for our virtual participants to be able to see the slideshow and see the speaker at the same time, I set up a scene somewhat similar to this. So what we did is I got the slideshow as a PDF. Now this would work the same for either a PowerPoint slideshow or for Google Slides. Basically, what you're going to do is hit the Windows and Tab key, and that's going to open up something that's kind of new in Windows 10. You've got all these different desktops available. Go to an empty desktop. In this case, I already have things set up on desktop 2, but we'll go ahead and close this just so you can kind of see the whole process. So we've got an empty desktop here now, right? So nothing's here, nothing's showing, it's blank. All of my windows are on another desktop. If you don't have a second desktop, you can create another desktop by just clicking new desktop. And then we can actually toggle between those either by pushing the Windows key and Tab, or by holding the Windows and Control key while hitting the left arrow key or the right arrow key. And that'll just slide you back and forth real nicely. So here we've got the Sunday school presentation right here. This is our PDF. So we're going to open this up, and then we want to get this into full screen. To do that for our PDF, for that, we hit Control and L for Adobe Acrobat, so that gets us full screen. And here's why we're going to do it this way. We want our application full screen because that's going to allow us to capture the full size of that window and then stick it in our video. And this is how. So coming back in here to our sources, we're going to right click, we're going to click Add, and we're going to come down to Window Capture. And what Window Capture is it's grabbing basically any window that you have on your desktop, and it's going to stick that in our video at the size that the window is being rendered at. So in our instance, we full screened it. Our monitor is 1080p, so this is going to grab that full screen window at 1080p. Alternatively, if you're wanting to capture a game, you would go to Game Capture, which is more or less the same thing, really. And if you get really desperate and none of those are working, you can do Desktop Capture, which is going to capture everything on your screen. But the nice part about window is it will only capture that window. So if any notifications pop up on your desktop or anything of that manner, it's not going to matter. It's only going to capture that window, so you won't see any of those other things. So let's grab our window. We want a new capture. I've kind of already set this up though, so I'm going to grab my presentation. In here, when we create a window capture though, we're going to have the option to pick a window. For us, the window we're wanting is this Adobe Acrobat Reader. We've got our EQ lesson PDF, and you can see we've got a bunch of other ones in here too. Like we can grab the calculator, which doesn't seem to really be loading. Actually, none of those really seem to be loading. Here's one of our browser windows we have up. But so let's just grab this one. This is the one we want. We're going to leave this on automatic. We aren't going to turn on cursor capture because we don't want the cursor showing in our presentation. It's going to be more distracting for viewers probably to have that. I prefer not having it. So we're just going to click OK, and then we've got our wonderful presentation here inside our video. Now you might also notice though that you can't see our face because it has plopped this right on top of our webcam. So let's fix this by rearranging things some. In our sources, let's grab our presentation and let's just pull it down to be below our webcam. And you can see now our webcam is back on top. Let's go ahead and remove this since we aren't using it. Keep things clean. So now we've got our webcam is back on top, but our webcam is taking up the full thing. You know, it's taking up our full video. So we're going to come over here to this corner. We're going to click it. And after we click it, we're going to hit the Control and Alt keys. And that will allow us to scale. If we don't click them after we've already selected the corner, then you're going to get different things happening. Like I'll show you. So we can scale this down. Now, if we hit just the Alt key and then drag, let's drag from this side. This is actually going to apply a crop. So you can see I can actually crop my video for, you know, if I just want this much of my video, I can crop it like that, or I can even crop down the top here a little bit. And so I can just kind of focus in on which part of the video I want. I'm not having to zoom or do any funny things. I'm literally just cropping the window that the video's in. So this makes it nice and smaller. Make sure you click first and then hit Alt and Control. Otherwise, you're going to wind up just, you know, it's going to scale in other ways that you might not want. And then you'll wind up with things that are misshaped and your aspect ratios will be gross. And you either look squished or stretched, and we don't want that. So let's go ahead and shrink this down. We'll just bring it right up here. We can also bring this down. This doesn't need to be quite so large. And also, you notice we're kind of covering parts of our presentation that we probably want to be able to see. So let's go ahead and, oh, see, there's the weirdness I was talking about because I did it wrong. So let's go ahead and reset that. We can reset by coming into transform, reset transformation, or we can just Control R. We can restart, grab that, Control Alt, drag it down. It's probably good about there. Let's go ahead and move this up a little bit though. Let's go ahead and center it some. Inside transform, we should even be able to center oops. I want center vertically. So let's go ahead and drag this back over some. We'll center that vertically. All right, we'll just make us a little bit smaller up here. There's not going to be too much in this side of the presentation. So now we've got the presentation included with the webcam. So now to progress through that presentation would be to swap back over to our other screen, and then we can click through the presentation. And as we do that, if we come back here, I can show you that. So we're going to go back. So as we click through, you can see as we scroll through, we're able to see it update as we go to the next slide, to the previous slide, and you're able to see those changes, without worrying about things. Because of how we've tightened the window and everything, how we've tightened the video, we can go off this screen because it's not a desktop capture, and we can play around with those things and the viewers don't see it. Now, if we did a desktop capture, then it would be something more like this, where that's part of how I'm capturing this. So if we do a desktop capture, you know, when I actually come over to a new window, you see the whole scene changes to the new window. But if I leave it to where, it's a window capture, then you only see that window regardless of how many other screens I go to. Now having a black background's a little boring, so let's just spruce this up slightly. What we can do, just something simple, we can add a color source. Let's grab one that I've already made. We can just pull this down. Color source literally is just a color. If you're familiar with web colors, with Photoshop colors, we've even got a color picker in here. We can just grab this and we can click set color, and we can pretty much pick whatever color we want. So that's actually a little bit darker than what I probably want. Let's come up here, and a nice shade like that should pretty well match. We're getting close. We can get closer than that though, so we definitely can go darker. Let's go ahead and find what looks like good base, make that a bit darker. If we wanted to try to kind of match the color we had here, if we really wanted to match it, we could figure out what color was used for the presentation. In my instance, I didn't create the presentation, the teacher did, so I don't just readily have access to that. So that doesn't look too bad though, but you can start to get an idea for how we can kind of customize this and stuff. And you can even lay these out however you want. Maybe you want them just like right next to each other, so you can kind of bring them down like this, so they're just like right next to each other. Maybe you want to include some notes on it, like if there's a next event or something. You can start to get ideas for all sorts of different things. We could come in here, we could add a text, and we can just call this title, and then we could just say like Sunday school lesson, and we can have this nice Sunday school lesson up here or something. Or we could change that and it could be the Lions versus the Tigers if we're doing like a sporting event or something. And we'll go into different ways later for how we could do sporting events, and we could keep track of things like scores and whatnot. And we're going to try to create some pretty easy solutions that will allow us to do scoring and whatnot, and have cool scoreboards and such that aren't going to cost you an arm and a leg like some of these services out there will charge you for some of these features. So anyhow, that's going to pretty much wrap up this video. At this point, we'd be good to go. I mean, we could hit start streaming, we could hit record. In fact, let's go ahead and just start recording. Why not? So if you guys enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this. We're going to be going over OBS. We're going to be looking at different things that are available to us. Now, as an end note, you probably noticed that the video quality of the webcam and the audio quality, I mean, it leaves something to be desired. Don't worry. In coming videos, we're going to talk about how we can get higher quality video, some nice budget options that are available, and how we can increase our audio quality too. So stay tuned. I hope to see you guys then. So long.